I think that's a good intro. We just start rapping. Ryan, thanks for joining us on the show.
Happy to be here.
I thought it'd be fun to start. A lot of people that work in hospitality, work in the bar, always think, man, it would be cool if I opened my own spot. And you actually did it. So what, just like starting off, what makes you different and what got you to that point where you could do that?
That's a good question. I think for so many years I've been doing this. I've been in this industry since I was like 15. So I've been, everywhere, worked all the different positions and all the different chains and all the different places.
Oh yeah.
And then once living in San Francisco and working in bars, I do remember a lot of people asking like, why don't you just open your own place? Why don't you just open your own place? And I remember just being I don't know how I knew, but I was like, I don't think I'm ready. Like, I just don't think this is. I know how to run a place pretty well, but I just don't think that this is the time. And I'm not really sure it would be great. And looking back, I'm glad I didn't try. Failure is a big thing. I wish I was more amenable to failing and trying and failing things. But when it came to this, I think like just really wanted to make sure that we did it right and it was the right situation. And my partner here at ABV, Todd Smith, and I worked together at Bourbon and Branch back in 2006, and really would spend a lot of time after our shifts talking about what was good and what was bad about that particular operation and what we would do differently and how we would change it. And we talked about it a lot and we did it a lot. And I think it was probably 2007 when Todd actually came up with the name ABV.
Which is a great name, yeah.
There was, yeah, it was really, I remember he was really excited, and we went to lunch and he kind of like had it printed out with the font on a computer and like kind of just like folded it up and pushed it across the table. And I got on my phone and bought the URL right then and there. So, but I think, and it eventually when he started working with Eric Reichborn, our other business partner, at a bar across the street called Dalva, they kept talking about how they wanted to open a bar, and I kind of had to sort of be like, hey Todd, I thought we were going to do this. And it all ended up, working out in a great way. I know a lot of bar owners that bartenders turned bar owners that come along on the coattails of people with a lot of money, or people that want to be we're going to own 75% of this place. We're going to put up all the money. You're going to get 25%. Doesn't that sound great? But you're going to do all the work, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I definitely knew that wasn't something that was going to work well for me. And luckily, we had amongst us enough money to get this thing going. And we all agreed that we'd be equal partners and have an equal share of all the work. And that's really, it just was the right, I guess it's the cliche thing to say, but the right place and the right time.
Right people.
Is how it all came up. Yeah, the right people, really, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, that is a cool one to dig into. Do you think that you would have ever done this? Like, I know it's impossible to like split test life, but if you hadn't had partners, would you have ever been able to overcome that initial resistance?
I definitely knew I wanted to do it with other people. I kind of realized the amount of work it would be, and I think that for so long, this idea, the collaborative nature of this business, especially when it comes to the bar, is just really so healthy and such a part of the process that I love so much. So I knew that if we were going to if I was going to do this, I wanted it to be with other people that were as interested in what we were doing. And part of what fuels doing this is just sort of, I think at a certain point, you're doing this long enough, you get to that good or bad point, however you want to look at it, where every time you go out to a restaurant, you're just like, that's fucked up. That's amazing. What is happening there? That is a disaster. That's incredible. I love that. Taking notes on that. Like, all the things. It's just constant, whether he's to the chagrin of my wife and anyone else I go out to dinner with. I'm just always checking and looking for things like that, and then bouncing those ideas off of Todd and Eric, my business partners, and talking about, oh, he did this, and it's one of the things that we get the most. We get a lot of. We do it a lot. We really enjoy talking about all of that, and I think that's part of that collaborative stuff as well, and sort of, what I really enjoy about having partners.
Yeah, and I could imagine a future where without those people, like if you don't have those soundboards, people to interact with, like maybe you could have done it, but it doesn't seem like it'd be as enjoyable. Like if you're just solopreneuring it by yourself, it's just like 10 years later, you haven't had a day off in 10 years. Like,
totally.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be 100% your control, but 100% your nightmare too. So, yeah.
True. And I think there's like a learning curve for a lot of different things. I mean, the other lucky thing about me and my business partners is just sort of Eric knows insurance, payroll, all that kind of stuff. Like he figured that out long ago with his other bar, and he's like, I'm perfectly cool to do that. And so there wasn't a learning curve for me to have to learn how to do all that stuff and stay on top of it. And I know a bunch about graphic design and more computer savvy than either of those guys. So getting our POS system started, it just sort of like
you set up the email and everyone else. Yeah.
No,
but that's so important. I think people don't realize that. Like, I just brought my brother onto the show, and he was happy to come on. And right now, he's just in charge of the YouTube section of it. And it's like, I know I can do all those things that he's doing, but even just knowing someone else is doing it, it like lightens the mental load. Like, okay, one less thing every day to think about. Like, thank God. But
right, and this business is so filled with. There may be 10 things on your to-do list when you start your day, and then 5 other things pop right to the top of it that you had no chance of expecting were going to be top priority, whether it's, painting over a tag that happened last night, fixing a toilet that got broken last night, calling the HVAC people about your refrigerator that's down, or having to fire someone or hire someone. Everything just is like, you can't see it coming. And if you're alone, it just is. I can't even imagine the weight of that. So yeah, it's really great having business partners. It's really, really great.
Yeah. And no, the funny thing is, it's like 10 things on your to-do list. You add 5, you got 6 done, and then you realize you end the day with 9. Oh man, that's the story of my life. So people listening, because we do have a sizable portion of the audience that aren't California centric. Do you mind kind of going through who you are and how you got into the business?
Sure. Yeah. My name is Ryan Fitzgerald, as you'll probably see on the podcast. I'm been in the business for 15 years. My dad was a opening bar manager at Hula Hands in Kansas City, the very first Hula Hands that existed out there. And my mom was a cocktail waitress there. And after my dad tried to set her up with a bunch of other really wealthy regulars, she finally said, I'm not the person I want to go out with. And they ended up getting married and moving down to New Orleans to open the second Hula Hands. And then moving to California to try open a place, I think, called Yesterday's. But once I was old enough to need a car in Southern California when I was like 15 and really wanted to, you need to drive in California, Southern Cal. My mom was like, you need to get a job. You need to get a job that pays pretty well, So she's like, you should try the restaurant business. It's what we both did. We both loved it. It's super social. You get cash at the end of the night.
They'll actually hire you even though you're 15.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And from there it just started. I was, in the beginning of that time, kind of taking some Spanish classes in school and, liked it enough, and it was fun, and Mexico was close enough, and I was a surfer. I'd go down and surf and try to use my Spanish. But once I was in the kitchen and heard all the dudes back there talking shit about me, I was like, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to figure it out. And we're going to be talking shit about everyone else.
Yeah.
So, that really hit hard. I definitely dug into my Spanish studies and did that. And then fell in love with everything, all the other aspects of it. Just sort of the the freedom of it, the idea that you could, if you wanted to go do something on a certain day, you could just call someone else to work your shift and it would be fine. You could go do whatever you wanted. That was early on. So yeah, I mean, since I was 15, and I worked at everywhere from Applebee's to Red Robin to.
Were you mostly like busser at this point? You server? What were you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I was host even. Even in college, like somehow, like I couldn't. I don't know. There was this weird barrier back then. We're talking like the 90s of like, if you don't have waiter experience, you don't get to wait tables. And I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to get this experience without just straight up lying to someone that I have the experience and then trial by fire. But that's not what happened. I just luckily stuck it out and hosted and was seating people while I was in college, which is yeah. But eventually it all worked out. I learned how to serve tables from a lot of like people that have been doing it for a long, long, long time. And you don't get to be a manager of an Applebee's unless you have like quite a bit of experience and know what you're really doing. So those were formative years. And then I moved to San Francisco after college, just because a bunch of my buddies that were in the music business or were musicians and bands all lived up here, and it seemed like a cool place. Mm-hmm. And I luckily I worked at Chevy's for a bit, and that was a go nowhere place. But I eventually got a job at Foreign Cinema here in San Francisco, where the whole kind of like this is a potential career kind of clicked, where it was, wine education was common. Just being around a ton of incredibly super passionate people that were really into it. And it was this independent restaurant. So it was super alive, and the food was like nothing I'd ever eaten. And I just really, it felt very different from all the other restaurant jobs I'd had. And that kind of set the hook pretty hard. I remember a sommelier, Bruno, I think was his name. And he's so passionate about wine and loved it so much. And there was just so many stories about each different producer that he would feature or talk about. And I just was, I remember before Bruno was able to teach us much, I remember being behind the bar, kind of like trying to bond with one of the bartenders there. I was a bar back at the time, and I was trying to sort of bond and like kind of laughing at someone at the table, like swishing the wine around, smelling it. I was like, what is that guy doing? Like, is he really going to return that wine? What is this guy's, what is that such a pretentious thing? And then the bartender shut me up fast, was like, you don't know anything. You don't know what you're talking about. And it just was like going to college all over again here in San Francisco, where I often talk about it as like this, DC is an industry town. Detroit was an industry town. LA is an industry town. And I was just like, at the time I felt like San Francisco was like a restaurant industry town. It was quickly transitioning to a tech industry town, but I just felt like everywhere you went, there was people. There were people in the restaurant business popping. Where did you used to work? Oh, I work here. Now you work here. Now they work there. And it was a big family in this pretty small town of San Francisco. So
I'm sorry to interrupt. This will be fast, I promise. If you're still listening and you like this, please take a second, go and tap that like button. It means the world to me, and it really does help us spread. All right, back to the story. It is cool when you can get into a scene that's growing, but still like nascent like that. I'm thinking that, I had my wine restaurant experience was a place called Il Piatto in Santa Fe. And it was one of those like little farm to table Italian joints. They printed the menu of features every day, so they'd have like new by the glass. And so it was like constantly evolving. And like, if you're into Italian wine, it's like not even just the Chiantis and the Nebbiolos, but it was like stuff from the South, things like all the unpronounceable grapes and the things that you just don't know about. And like, it was really cool. And, Jamie Taylor, the general manager, was kind of their acting somm, and she would run these wine tastings, wine classes. I remember there was one event. There was one day where she went to a table that had asked me about something. And it was like really, really early in my wine career. And they were asking me if we had anything that's similar to like Chablis. And she went over and we had this new Fiano that she got them on. And I went through my notes, and I saw in the last class we did, she actually had mentioned something about it tasting like a Chablis. I was like, oh, like if I would have just paid attention and thought about it, I was just
Yep.
such a newbie, but yeah, I didn't know red from white at that point. But like you just really
Yeah.
need one person who's really into it, and like that's where I started going through. Like I went the SOM route and started doing the certifications, and like yeah, it's amazing. I think I was a little more spirits heavy first, just because I got that job as a bar back, and I really enjoyed the bar. But yeah, you kind of have to find someone who really has a passion and love for something, and then it just like opens up worlds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, even though I was a barback and I enjoyed sort of the idea of, I wanted to be a bartender. I knew that's where the money was going to be, and barbacking was just sort of like a slog a bit. But it was that wine education that really sort of really formed this idea that like there's just so much to learn about all this stuff. And it was crazy because I was so interested in learning about wine, and at the time, I mean, didn't go crazy and get into testing or SOM stuff too much, but I just was like, I remember that distinctly as like really a passion.
Yeah.
But it took years before that translated into spirits. I worked behind bars as a bartender for a while, for 2 or 3 or 4 more years before it finally was like, oh, there's stories in those bottles too, and like they're way crazier or as crazy, and that's way more important to the work I'm doing than actually what's going on in wine.
Yeah, it's useful. And I mean, there is that allure where like
Yeah.
you only have to say a couple things and sell a $200 bottle. Like that will always have its appeal. But yeah, how did you start getting interested in spirits, agave, like all that?
I was lucky enough. I mean, one of the funny things and one of the stories that is a story that my partner Todd and I laugh about a lot is like I don't think I've really quit many jobs. I've been fired from most of my jobs, and I was lucky enough to work at a restaurant called Bakar. That's where I worked with Eddie and David O'Malley and Debbie Zacharias. It was an incredible restaurant. I got really lucky to get that job after I got fired from Ford Cinema. But it was good. The cocktail situation wasn't incredibly serious, but there was a lot of like, I mean, Dominic Venegas and Carlos Ituria and Naya White all worked there along together. And then while I was there, I got fired from there.
What are you doing to get fired? Like, should we even dig into that?
Most of it's insubordination or slight forms of miscommunication. Everyone was different, but I think it was a lot of insubordination that really did it, where I just was like, I don't think this is being run the right way at the moment. And like, it would be frustrating. I'm working and I'd be really frustrated by how something was working. And I would say something that I probably shouldn't have, or, the lesson that everyone kind of learns the hard way is when you go over your manager's head to someone higher, that doesn't bode well for
Yes,
your
there's
relationship with that manager.
Ticking clock there. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
So in Omaha, we just got done with our big wine dinner, and it's like a 3-month affair we put on, $250 a head, and we bring our executive chef out because there are 4 of my restaurant, and he's very good at what he does, but he is opinionated and sure that he is right, and like he ruffles some feathers, and I can only imagine like a world where he was working and he wasn't in charge. like even with all the goodness, he probably would not be working there much longer. But love the guy.
Yeah.
But still,
Yeah.
ruffle some feathers. Yeah.
So I got fired from Bakar, and it just happened to be at the right time that Julio Bermejo was working with some regulars that were from Bakar, and Julio Bermejo were opening a restaurant right near the ballpark, about a couple blocks away from Bakar. And Jacques Besadenhout was the bar manager.
Oh, good old Jacques. Yeah.
Julio Bermejo. Yeah, and Julio Bermejo was, and I didn't know Jacques. I knew of Julio, but I hadn't really been out to Tommy's. I was sad to say, but it was the most incredible experience. I was so lucky to have known those regulars, the guys that I think were, I'm trying to think of their names. Eric Rubin, and was specifically the one who was sort of, I don't know if he was money behind. I don't know exactly what he was, but this place was called Tres Agaves. Julio was the the agave guy, and this was his first foray into another restaurant outside of Tommy's, I think. And there was only 5 bartenders hired. It was Jacques, it was Stefano Francavilla, who up until recently worked for Fortaleza, and what's the other guy's name from Charles Vexenant. These guys,
I'm so glad that you are brave
over,
enough to say all these people's names on air, not me. Yeah.
Yeah.
God,
but Julio brought these guys over from London that were like cocktail assassins, and was like, we're going to open this bar. And there was only 5 people. And so by some miracle, and I'm sure it's thanks to Eric Rubin that I got, that they were like, you need to make Ryan a bartender. I mean, even before Marco Dionysus was allowed to be a bartender there, a great point of fact that it's not what you know, it's who you know, because Marco undoubtedly knew way more than me about all kinds of things. And I got lucky enough to be a bartender at Tres Agaves. And from there, it was just like, that's where it was. He was the Bruno of, Julio knows everything about tequila, and he just sat the whole staff down. And we went, I remember we had a book of papers like this, and it was just like, open it to the first page. Okay. 1800. Let's talk about the Blanco. Let's talk about the brand. Let's talk about the people behind the brand. Let's talk about the Blanco. Okay. Turn the page. Reposado. Like we spent 3 8-hour days going through each and every single tequila on the back bar, all the information about it, all the details, just everything, and tasting it as well. And then their big thing was, the Tres Agaves guys were like, one of the things we want to have is at any point someone on the floor or behind the bar, there's always at least one staff member working that has been to every distillery. Not one staff member has been to everyone, but I've been to Siete Leguas, Janet's been to El Tesoro, Tim's been to Partida.
Someone's
like at the time,
been to that region. Yeah. That's cool.
So then they started sending us on these trips, and then the Spanish came back, and it just was, the Mexican hospitality is, it's incredible. I don't know. I haven't seen another hospitality like it. And the passion just was, it was really, really easy to be just, so passionate about it and have so much fun and fall in love with, the food. I've always been a big fan of the food and the Mexican culture, and the agave spirits just took it to a whole next level. And so I learned a ton. I got to go down to all kinds of distilleries, and that was just life-changing. Was able to turn people on all the time at working at this restaurant by the ballpark, which was, as you can imagine, pretty
probably busy. Yeah.
pretty rough, a lot of Jack and Cokes, and we're like scratching our heads being like, you're at one of the best tequila bars in the world. But, that was how I really got into the agave world.
Well, Jack and Coke pays the bills. You got to have something.
Sure.
It is what it is.
We tried to put them onto batongas, even they didn't love them. But
that is such an insane concentration of some of the people that I think of as the foremost tequila experts out there. I knew Jacques when he was Partida. I know he's moved on since. Yeah, Bermejo. Yeah. So it's funny as you're talking about that class. What I was thinking is you tell most bartenders, servers, 3 8-hour long classes about tequila with tasting. Maybe the tasting part would be exciting, but I'm sure most would be like, that does not sound like something I want to do. And I was like, sign me up tomorrow. I think there are people that see that sort of depth and get excited by it, and some that are like, no, thank you. But I'm definitely one that I'd go for that.
It definitely was, you could definitely tell there was people that were more into it than others. But Julio's also so charismatic and so passionate as well that it's hard not to just be caught up in all of that as he goes on and on and on. And he knows so much, and he knows all of them personally. And it just was these stories about this person or that person, or it's yeah, it's hard not to get all caught up in that
Yeah.
for sure.
Now, so what exactly? How did you get hooked up with Del Maguey? How did all that happen?
I was, let's see, after Tres Agaves, after I got fired from there,
Oh my gosh, yes.
ended, I ended up at Bourbon and Branch, which is a place I did quit. I did not get fired from Bourbon and Branch, but a lot of us quit Bourbon and Branch at the time of this place. Beretta was opening. That was another big class of, I mean, Thad Vogler was running the bar and Eric Johnson went over there. John Santer left Bourbon and Branch to go over there. Todd Smith and I left Bourbon and Branch to go over there. Jill, there was a lot of us that all went over there, and it was a really exciting time. It was sort of, I mean, Thad had done a lot at Slanted Door, but I don't think that the cocktails were as much the focus as they were going to be at Beretta, and that was also a life-changing moment. I remember just really my eyes being really opened by what Thad had sort of created in that opening cocktail menu. But I ended up getting fired from Beretta after running that place for after Thad left. I kind of ran it in not exactly a bar manager role, but more of like a consultant, so I could still bartend and be behind the bar. And
the trap of like the head bartender sort of thing. Yeah,
totally,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I was sort of. They were like, "Will you be our bar manager?" And I'm like, "I don't think a salary is really what I want, and I also don't want to be here when someone calls in sick." So I kind of created my own little role, which was like a bar consultant where I'll taste spirits, bring in spirits, make sure the bar maintains a level, like the staffing of the bar is good and people are good and know what they're talking about. And we'll change cocktails from time to time. But eventually there was a big firing there where they fired the GM, myself, 6 or 7 servers, all for, doing something we shouldn't be doing, which is sort of being there after hours. And we all deserved it. We'd all been warned that we would be fired if that happened again. And it wasn't a crazy party, but it was, someone's going away party and we were having a little bit too much fun. So we were let go. But the crazy part was that was 2012 and Beretta had been invited to the Tales of the Cocktail Bar Brawl. And that was this cool thing that Steve Olson was in charge of. Years ago with Grand Marnier was the sponsor, and it was the 3rd year that they had done it. And the first year, I remember Rick House was invited from San Francisco, and they did a pretty good job, but it wasn't the best showing. It was. But then there was the second year was the Burrett Room was invited to do the bar brawl, and then they didn't show at all because their paychecks weren't getting. Kevin Diedrich was running the Burrett Room at the time, and he didn't. The money stopped coming, so they all left that place, and so they didn't even show up or they canceled on the bar brawl. And we had been invited to do it about 2 months prior to my getting fired, and I was like, I begged the owners of Beretta. I was like, look, I'm cool. Like, I get it. I deserve to not be working here, but let me just bring this team. Let me see this through. Let me go to Tales and take Beretta to Tales of the Cocktail and like bring this crew of people that we've been working on with cocktails and stuff. Let's go. I want to do this and see this through and do the bar brawl. And that was right around the time that a guy named Michael Gardner had come back into the mix with Del Maguey. He was a longtime friend of Ron Cooper's. I'd met Ron many times. I'd fallen in love with Del Maguey, Mezcal many times over the years around the Beretta times for sure. And even through some of the Tres Agaves times, really was interested in all that. And in 2010 was my first, I had gotten a chance to go down to Oaxaca. I remember Eric Castro put out an email to like 30 people, was like, we got to go to Oaxaca. I know not all of you are going to make it. Let's figure out who can go. And it ended up being a trip to Oaxaca in 2010. And it was Eric Castro and Dominic Venegas and Damian Windsor and Joaquin Simo. And obviously Eric Castro. Nea White was down there as well. Another gentleman I forget. But anyway, that set the hook hard. The Beretta Bar Brawl set the hook, I think, the other way. Ron I think Ron and Michael were at the bar brawl that we ended up winning at Beretta,
Heck yeah.
which
Winning for
was
a place you
crazy.
don't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was that bit of I don't know if it's incongruous or what it was, or like maybe that bit of loyalty or dedication to it, I think really meant something. I mean, like I said, I knew Ron well and really appreciated him and what was going on, and we really were friends essentially. But I think that this idea that I would see this thing through and even to the point of winning, and didn't have a job at the same time, all that kind of came together at the right time for Michael Gardner to be like, hey, we should, when you get home and settle down, let's have a talk. I want to come up to San Francisco and talk to you about something. And then he offered me the job of a brand ambassador for Del Maguey, which I kind of similar to the whole, like, would you ever start a bar? There were so many times that
would you be a brand
ambassador?
I
wouldn't start. Yeah, exactly. Like, would you be a brand ambassador? I'd be like, there's maybe 2 brands that I would ever do it for, and they don't have the money. There's no way they have the money to support what a brand ambassador would need to be doing. And when Del Maguey, when he asked if I wanted to do it, it was quite a incredible, literally like a perfect thing. It was just the perfect thing, and an incredible job to have, to working with them and being able to go down and visit and being able to like just have all that mezcal at all times and be able to turn people on. I mean,
let's be honest. It's definitely a perk. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'd already, I remember saying how effective those trips down to Del Maguey were with Ron. That one that we had organized with all those guys was just like, I mean, we all came back as ambassadors, no matter what, no matter, they didn't have to pay us anything. Like we were just, it was in 2012, seeing what was happening down there was just mind blowing, having been to tequila and seen how tequila's made and knowing sort of the ins and outs of it. And, some people triple distill and not understand why they would do that. And how the fermentation, these giant fermentation tanks that are just, hundreds and hundreds of liters and ferment in 24 hours. And these guys are doing tiny fermentation tanks in wood, and it's dirty and it's
beautiful.
Man, the soul, the beauty of it was, totally took over. And I mean, I had my cell phone out every day at Beretta when I got back. I was just showing people pictures like, check this out. You won't like, can you believe this? This is made here.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and to just think about the level of work that goes into every single bottle, like the level of work that goes into just digging up an agave, like, and I've never been able to travel down there. I've only seen it on video, and I'm a diehard ambassador too, because it's wild, and the amount of technology they're using to do these things is not often the highest. Like, it's mind blowing, but.
Yeah, and it's beautiful too. But it's other than the land is beautiful. The people are beautiful. I mean, these people that don't have much and just would like roll out the red carpet as best they could. I mean, they would feed us when we were at these places. And Ron and Julio were both they were both great ambassadors in and of themselves to those places, because they were just like, listen, hey, like. You may not speak Spanish, and these producers are going to be speaking Spanish because they definitely don't know English. Some of them would speak Zapotec, and so a lot of us wouldn't understand what was going on. But Ron specifically would be like, just respect them, like pay attention. You're going to be drinking, you're going to be joking with your friends, but stop that. Pay attention to what they're saying. You may not understand the story, but I'll translate. And there was such a deep respect. Julio too would always had this deep respect. He'd be like, look, we're going to a distillery, don't wear shorts. Like, no one wears shorts at distilleries. Like, and I remember really being like, okay, cool. Like, I know that I'm not like, I'm an alien to this place. Like, I don't, even when it's a tequila distillery, and I'm fully out of my element here as far as like culturally and culturally specifically. So I was just like trying so hard to be like, I really appreciated that angle of like, be respectful, and here's how you can be respectful of these people that are making these things. And I got to say that I'm also really good friends with David Suro, and I haven't listened to his podcast that you did with him, but I mean, he's the same way, just like
No, I
this
I
is,
love talking to David. It is a little hard to understand him. He does have a bit of an accent there, but God, it's I mean, just truthfully, but I mean, it's hard to meet someone who has such a passion for what they do down there, and God, yeah, and just so much respect for the land and so much disdain for the industrialized tequila,
yeah,
which,
yeah,
fair enough,
yeah,
yeah, but
totally, and it's a big deal, it's a big issue, it's a big problem, and but I really, again, I was so lucky to be introduced to those cultures and that process by both Julio and Ron, who were both so just like hugely respectful of the culture and the heritage
yeah.
and the people and everything, that it just stuck with me. So yeah.
If you don't mind, I think there might be enough people who listen to the show in kind of satellite markets. Do you mind just kind of going through what a brand ambassador does? Because I know there are going to be some people who haven't actually interacted with one. If you're like in the middle of Wyoming or something.
Yeah. It's, I think it's probably, a little bit different for a lot of different people. I think in one sense, you're an event planner. You plan like activations, I guess. I was never going to be nominated for best brand ambassador at all. Specifically with Del Maguey, it was always just the big thing for them was always just education and just really like making sure that like that was their marketing in the very beginning. Like no one knows what this stuff is. Like get out there and
Yeah, because there was a time when it's like
teach.
5 people in America drank mezcal and that was it. So yeah,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
ones that did thought of it as like the worm in the bottle, and like yeah, okay,
yeah,
that makes
totally.
sense.
So that was a lot of what I did, was a lot of education, a lot of pictures. I put a bunch of presentations together and definitely went through it, taste different things. I mean, some of these opportunities I had an hour to talk about it. Some of these opportunities you had 10 minutes at lineup to like talk to a staff that really had no idea what you were talking about, everything in between. But as a brand ambassador, I would go go to different markets, meet with the distributor, work with them for a day in one market, and drive around to a bunch of places that the distributor thought would be a place that might be interested in carrying this product. Do either the elevator pitch or the longer pitch on what you had, taste them on it, and really sort of try to connect with people and try to help the distributor sell your product. And meanwhile, the distributor salesperson is probably learning a ton along the way as well, so they can just sort of like do the same pitch the next day to a different account.
Ideally, yeah.
Yeah. And so it ended up being a lot of travel, which for better or worse, I really enjoyed a bit of that. I enjoyed the half of that, which meant going to restaurants and bars around on the West Coast, mostly was my area, and meeting all kinds of new amazing people that were in bars, and some people didn't care about mezcal, but a lot of the people in the bar industry really were big fans, and meeting those people was really cool. The traveling got a little bit tiresome. I got a little bit tired of having to.
Yeah.
I like to travel for fun. Traveling for work is just a whole nother beast,
Especially when you're staying in like Motel 6s and like off the beaten path, saving money where you can. It's like it does wear on you.
Yeah.
Versus like fun and having a good time and picking nice hotels and all that stuff.
Yeah. And for a brand that's small, they're like, well, we need you there on Tuesday. And I'm like, cool, I'll leave Monday night. They're like, would it be better if you left Tuesday morning so we don't have to pay for Monday night's hotel? Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, well, that's going to be quite a long day as I'm arriving at 9, working till 5, hitting up spots until 10, crashing, waking up the next morning to go to work again at 9. Like, that's going to be, it wears on you. But it was also really fun. There was a lot of
yeah.
It's nothing's more. I mean, it's really fun to be able to buy mezcal for people. Be like, hey, you've never had this before. Let me buy you a shot of that. Or, you're a good friend, like I know you, like let's have some mezcal or something like that. That was always really fun.
So you, as a brand ambassador, you're kind of like a self-replicating moving advertising board. I like, yeah, just
Yeah,
like, yeah, drink more mezcal.
especially with Del Maguey, the teaching and the stories and the history and all the heritage and stuff like that was really important. And
Whereas if you'd been like
yeah,
Tito's, which I bet you never would have been a Tito's brand rep, but it's more
no,
about the like building the brand and
yeah,
like throwing the events sponsored by Tito's,
yeah,
yeah, all that. Yeah, okay.
totally, yeah.
I don't want us to get through the whole podcast without talking a little bit about ABV because I think it's such a
Okay,
cool spot. So, can you kind of tell us the concept and what you've done different there?
we let's see, well, originally we weren't really interested in doing food. I know that we all have turned that corner big time. We not all of us can cook, but none of us are chefs and haven't really ever worked in the kitchen. And we always kind of knew that that was a place of potential.
You can lose a lot of money. Yeah,
You can lose a lot of money
you
and
definitely
a lot
can.
of tempers potentially and staff turnover and stuff. We've been really lucky to have nothing but incredible chefs since we've opened, that have done really cool things. What that specifically ended up being was this crazy idea that we had that we wouldn't have silverware.
Hmm.
So all of our chefs have worked within that realm of like just finger food. Um, I guess that kind of goes back to our sort of our real. I guess it's almost our not our. It's not a can't be a motto because it's a real cliche, but it's like this whole idea of under promise and over deliver is kind of what we aim to do, and that specifically with the food. I figured if we have silverware, we're either going to have nice silverware, which gives you one expectation, or really shitty silverware, which gives you a whole nother expectation.
Yes. Yeah.
Or we have no silverware and we just see where that lands us. And Todd and Eric and I were all known as cocktail guys in the city. So we kind of knew that if we needed to make the food like outstanding and really, really good. And we wanted that too for ourselves because we wanted to eat it. We want it to be, it is a part of the whole thing. So
Who aspires to own a bar with shitty food? Like no one.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of people in the world that aspire to own a bar
And then just
and don't
end
really
up
think
with the
about the
shitty
food.
food. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just are like, well, we got to have food, so let's just figure that out. But
Tacos and
this
chili
was-
fries or something. Yeah.
yeah. So we definitely leaned really hard into that, and that's been frustrating at times, obviously having no silverware, but also like really, I remember when we first opened watching like people would come in on first dates and like dressed up and looking good and looking around like I've got to eat this with my hands, and then kind of loosening up and being like, well, so does she or so does he or whoever I'm on the date with. Like they've got to eat it with their hands too. So like it kind of like loosened people up. I remember that being a really like, I think this is going to work. I think this is going to be a good thing. But that's one thing we did differently.
How often do people ask for silverware? Just curious.
Almost nightly.
Yeah. Could I have some silverware? Or you forgot to give me silverware?
Yeah.
It's like, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't have any.
Yeah. We've got a lot of toothpicks, or like these little picks that you pick up some things with. We now have chow mein on the menu, so we've got some chopsticks and some. I worked last night, and there's some savvy regulars that know they got delivered something that wasn't chow mein, and they're like, "Can we get some chopsticks with this?" I'm like, "This isn't the goal, but we have them, so we're not going to say no. Of course, you can have them." So,
gateway silverware. Yeah.
But that was one thing we did differently. I mean, ultimately, what we wanted to do with the bar was have a place that wasn't a pretentious cocktail place. We wanted everyone to feel welcome, and we wanted everyone to be able to get what they wanted. I mean, as I've said earlier, like my partners and I are really into the scene and eating and drinking and going to really nice restaurants, and we've all worked at tons of different places, all up and down the scale of like super fancy fine dining places to normal places. And so we wanted to bring that fine dining level of hospitality and like effortlessness to a bar that could crank out a lot of cocktails that were really, really good on a regular basis with, food that was definitely outstanding, but also looks like it's not. It doesn't really. You don't really walk into a bar with octopus and are like, "Cool, I'm gonna get the octopus." It's like that's dicey at best at a lot of restaurants, but we definitely all those. We wanted something for everything. We have nice. We opened with Mathiassen's wines on tap, which
Oh, that's
Steve
cool.
Mathiassen is a friend of. Went to college with my partner Eric, and is a friend of the bar and an incredible winemaker, and such an awesome opportunity to have had those on. And we love wine, like I've said
Steve's
earlier,
coming on the show next week. I know him from
Oh,
when I
great.
was in Lodi, and he's been to a couple. I've been in a couple of tastings with him. He's a really great winemaker. Really
Incredible winemaker, incredible person, just
Yeah.
one of those people.
You know the Lodi
Go
sustainability
ahead.
rules?
No.
So Lodi has a pretty like progressive sustainability just group, and it's a set of rules. And I'd heard about them in the past through wine studies, and when I was out there, Michael David was like, guess who helped put those together? Steve Mathiasen. And like back in the day, he was
Amazing.
just like a intern, and he was like, yeah, I remember thinking this guy's gonna do some stuff. It's like he did some stuff, yeah. But
I remember we're also friends with Todd Leopold, and obviously Steve and Todd now have created this, or are working together on a few things. And both of those guys are guys that I think all me and my business partners, and anyone who's met them would say, like, I just feel smarter by having spent time with either of those guys. Any amount of time you can spend with Todd Leopold talking about distillation or fermentation, instantly you're just like, wow, I just feel smarter having hung out just by being near you.
yeah, he is Leopold
Mathiasen,
Bros,
too.
right? That whole line.
Yeah.
Yeah. We use his lime.
He and his
cordial,
brother.
or no, his lime distillate thing for one of our cocktails.
Yeah.
It's great. It's really really unique.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't understand
but
how they
so
get
more, I guess-
all that done too. Like Steve is on like
incredible.
45 different wineries. Like it's hard to even keep track of them.
It's incredible. Really incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so with those wines, I always say, like, you can come into ABV and you can get a shot and a beer and be out of here for $12, or you can get, 3 1-ounce pours of super rare Japanese whiskey that we've been hoarding for 10 years, and a full meal, and you could be with your pregnant wife or someone else who doesn't drink and get a really delicious non-alcoholic cocktail. You could get a unique, if you really like beer, there are plenty of amazing places to drink beer in San Francisco, but we have a few that are solid. We've got really solid beers because we want people of every ilk to be able to enjoy themselves here and enjoy themselves with someone else that doesn't particularly want to drink a cocktail. So
No, I always respect
That's always
places
the
that
thing.
have the courage to realize that like one thing isn't a thing. Beer, for instance, it's the same in my spot. Beer is like less than 1% of what we sell. We have a couple of local drafts, couple of the like gas stations, like yeah. Did I hear too that you don't have any, or you have a TV, but it's like hideable?
Yeah,
Okay.
Ironically, I mean, we didn't want TVs at all. But the first year that we opened in 2014, the Giants were in the World Series, and they were in the playoffs, and we're all fans, and we really wanted to watch it. And so we were like, screw it, let's just go to Costco and get a big old TV. And we were like, we happen to have this like beautiful clear story window space where there's like a ledge up there, and Eric had the bright idea. I think it was Eric or Todd had the bright idea of putting it on wheels, so we could wheel it over behind this wall
Super
that's
Bowl
up there,
and then Super Bowl's over kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And that's we had it for the playoffs, and then the Warriors went on their run. We played those playoffs, and then our holiday, or our staff holiday party every year is on Super Bowl Sunday, because we know no one's coming here to actually watch the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So we just shut the place down, and we drink our own booze and have a great time and watch the Super Bowl and gamble a little bit and go nuts.
Well, be careful. Make sure they don't fire you. No, I
Yeah.
really respect. I just don't understand how prevalent TVs have been in every bar. And like, I get it. I'm not the biggest sports fan. A lot of that is a self-perpetuating thing because I usually will work on Sundays because I want to have a day off with my wife, and it's like either Saturday, Sunday. So don't watch football, so I don't know what's going on, and again and again. But like, yeah, Super Bowl playoffs. Sure, I get it. You're traveling, you
Yeah.
want to check the sports, but like a Tuesday in like March, like who gives a shit? You're like,
Yeah.
well, not every bar, not every public space needs a screen, but
Right.
that's my like old
Right.
man rant. I'm done now.
I'm right there with you. And as you say that, I kind of realize like, I guess we say we have something for everyone, but we don't, because we don't have a TV for those people that really want to watch TVs. And that's okay. I mean, if you're at, we've done a lot of like being from San Francisco and like this center of tech and all these people with their startups and their desires to somehow farm everyone's data one way or another. That I get an email at least once a week of someone else with a new idea for how someone can use their smartphone to activate our crowd or our base of people that come in but could come in more frequently and all this stuff. And all they got to do is whip out their phone and do this. And I'm just like, we want to be the place where people put their phone away. Like this is a place where, we purposely don't make our drinks Instagrammable. Like, I don't want you having to be like, oh my God, that's so pretty, let's take a picture of it. Like, just put the phone away. Like, we're here to like interact with people and have a good time. And maybe you're interacting with a person you don't know, but definitely just interact with the people that you came with. So
At bare minimum,
Yeah.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a fight. It's one of those things that I don't think that the battle is completely over, but I think there are enough people that are starting to re-examine the way things are done and ask, are we doing the most ideal thing? Like, is social
Yeah.
media as inevitable as everyone says?
I hopefully you're right. I hope you're right. I hope that's at least a bit of a pushback is happening. And I'm here for it. I mean, we definitely,
We
like
say
seeing-
as we talk to each other, like on a screen, right before we put
exactly.
it out for someone's
this is-
smartphone. Yes, but so it is.
this technology is incredible. I'm super happy about this.
Yeah, I mean, you can use technology. You can use airplanes to fly food to people in need, and you can use them to drop bombs on people. And like it really is how you use it.
Yeah.
Before we get to the end of the episode, because it is getting close to time, I do actually have to go to work. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you would be remiss that we missed?
I'm trying to think of. I mean, one of the things that I guess, and I mean to go on more about a little bit of ABV is that another decision that we made that I'm proud of and excited about, and I feel is unique, and I see being done a little bit more than it was in the past. But we kind of tried one of the experiences we had at Bourbon and Branch that we wanted, and a little bit at Beretta as well, was this sort of this roadblock of servers and bartenders where like, all right,
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
someone's coming in to teach us about mezcal. Servers, you should show up. And they'd be like, no, and they'd be kind of bored, and they don't really care because that doesn't really pay the bills for them. And they don't know the experience of the bartenders, and the bartenders don't really know the experience of the servers. And we just kind of wanted to like, well, the best way to solve that is for each of them to have each other's job and like experience what it's like to get a party of 8 that each drinks a different cocktail, and have that ticket just print up for the bartender and be like, okay, awesome, I've got this to do. Whereas a bartender working that table will be like, why don't you two have that drink, and you two have that drink, and you two have that drink. And then you only have 2 of each of these drinks for 4, whatever. But sort of this idea of like, if you know what the person's going through on the other side, you'll be sympathetic to what they're going through. And what we ended up doing was just only hiring bartenders and kind of telling bartenders like, look, you're going to have to work 2 shifts on the floor. Because we are a full service bar where we, we'll people come in, we let them sit wherever they want for the most part, and then we immediately hit them with water and menus, and then we're there taking their order, bringing them their food, bringing them their drinks, really waiting on them like a servers would do, but it's a bartender that's doing it. And that kind of goes back to another thing of us, that what we wanted to have was just sort of that, we wanted to eliminate that thing that people do is like, can you just ask the bartender to make me something with gin and citrus. I really like a Corpse Reviver #2, but maybe they could come up with something different. And then the person serving them would be like, I'm not bartending tonight, but I'm there tomorrow. Would you like to try a Fitzgerald, or would you like to try this, or would you like to try that, or what other different cocktails would you like to try that are all gin and citrus driven that we can talk you through right now, and or maybe this one on our menu, and that's worked out really great. It's worked out great for staffing. It's worked out great for training. It's someone wants to become a bartender at ABV. We don't batch drinks, so we are a fully
made to order.
Like real bartenders
awesome.
are making all the drinks. And it's a hard place to learn to do that, because if you haven't bartended before and this is the place where you're going to start, there's 38 drinks on our menu at the moment, and you got to learn how to make them all, and you got to make them fast, because, we're not trying to send out drinks that take 15 minutes. So
exactly. Yeah.
It's just been really great. It's been great for the schedule. Everyone can cover everyone's shifts. As a barback trains to become a bartender, they get bartender floor shifts, where they have to talk about the drinks and know about the drinks, and they may not know exactly how to make them just yet, or how to make them at speed, but they know they're learning. And that's always been a tough thing too in this industry, is figuring out how to promote from within. Like, all right, you've never bartended before. How do you really learn how to bartend in a place where all the wells are occupied at all times during the week, and there's just no place to practice unless we're not open? So
yeah,
we've managed to figure some of those things out, and it's been a challenge, but really, really fun to find the right answers to it.
Yeah.
And I think that it helps the experience here when everyone working as bartenders, and I don't think I would ever do it differently.
I definitely think it raises the bar, because don't get me wrong, I have worked with some really good servers.
Sure,
but
absolutely, same.
There is it's almost like a mechanical and like personal knowledge and personability ability versus there's just such a high bar of knowledge for people in the bar. Like any restaurant expects the bar to know more. They just do.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do, it's just you require your staff to know more, essentially,
Yeah, totally.
And on that note too, you were talking about the no batching. I got my start in a mixology all fresh fruit bar where nothing was batched, and it was busy. And I'm glad I did. There were some nightmare scenarios when I was starting, and I had to work hard, but you go from that and you go to other places where it's batched and everything, you feel like you just have all this time. But if you start there and try to go the other direction, you just go into the weeds. So
yeah, and again, same like you said with the service. No disrespect to people that do batch. I totally I get there's so many great reasons for it. There's sustainability reasons, the speed reasons, the cost reasons, all the different things.
If you're in a bar where there's one well and there are 200 seats in the restaurant, you may have to batch. There are situations where okay, we've got to do something here. You know.
But for us, it's just we like that. We all came up that way, me and my partners, and most of the bartenders that started here when we opened came up that way. So it's an important. I think it's an important skill to learn for sure. Is how to actually make drinks while
back to
conducting while throwing a party and making sure that this person isn't bothering that person, and that person didn't just throw up, and this thing didn't. You're managing so many different things, and making a drink. It's harder. It gets a lot harder when you got all that stuff going on.
Yeah. But that's the dance. That's the job.
Yeah, it is.
I love it too. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So someone
totally.
who's listening at home, where could they go to find out more about you, or maybe where could they go to try some of your drinks?
Just come to ABV. This place is me and my partners are here every week. We're regularly here. We each work a shift on the floor during the week, and this is it's constantly evolving, this bar. It's not too far from what it was when it opened, but it's definitely evolved in certain ways, but it is definitely a place about us. Other than that, I don't really know much where else people could learn more about me other than here.
Link to your Instagram, and can you tell me why you chose your Instagram handle?
Jeez. Yeah, we can link to that. Link to the I Hate Cocktails. I don't use that one as much because
Okay.
I've been, as the youngest owner of ABV at 51 years old, I've been tasked with being the Instagram person. So I'm in charge of the ABV one, so I don't spend much time
Oh.
working on my own.
We'll,
But
we'll link to the ABV one. I just wanted to
yeah,
know where I Hate Cocktails came
no,
from.
that was another incredible experience and a great story of in 2007, I think, or six or eight. Phil Ward from New York had come to do a guest bartending shift in San Francisco at the Alembic, and he came to Bourbon and Branch, and we met. We had never met before that, and he had just gotten back from a trip to Tequila with Eric Rubin, who had talked a lot about me, and Phil and I became fast friends right away, just talking about his experience in tequila. This is I think it was pre, whatever the name of his place was in New York. Can't believe I can't remember it right now, but
Is he
we
PDT or employees only? I forgot.
he was Death and Co. And then he opened
Thank you. Sorry.
he opened the first sort of Mexican cocktail bar and restaurant. God, I can't believe I can't remember what it was called. He's gonna give me some shit about this, but he had said at the time when I met, he's like, you should come to Tales of the Cocktail. We're doing this thing called the Cocktail Apprentice Program. He said there's a bunch of New Yorkers that are going to do it. He's like, you should do it. It'd be really fun. They'll pay for your accommodations. I'd never been. I didn't really have much interest, but I got interested, and that was also a life-changing moment of like, it was Joaquin Simo, it was Jim Kearns, Alex Day, Josie Packard, Chris Hanna, Aaron, so many amazing bartenders, Maxwell Britton, Peter Vestinos. We were all in this class of cocktail apprentices when the Cocktail Apprentice Program was at its infancy. I mean, John Darragon and was one of the guys that ran it, and Don Lee ran it as well. And they told us like, hey, we'll pay for your accommodations. You'll have a roommate, but like that'll be fine. And you'll work one day like 8 to 5, and then you'll be able to go to some seminars the next day or the day of. And no, there was so few of us.
You worked every day.
From like 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. every day, and then we would go out and we would drink way too much and be out until 4 in the morning, and then be back in that kitchen the next day. And I think it was the third day that I went in there super destroyed. I was late, super hungover. Half the crew weren't even in there. And you walk into this kitchen and just, it hit you. The smell of like a sidecar, like that typical cocktail smell of like, and I just took my shirt off immediately and wrote with a Sharpie just on the front of it, I hate cocktails. Like just, and somehow in a matter of hours, I think all of Tales of the Cocktail heard about it, and people kept coming down to the kitchen and wanting to see this thing. I was delivering cocktails to seminars with this shirt on that said "I hate cocktails," and it kind of just became this like hilarious, like obviously true, but at the same time not true statement at the place where if you hate cocktails, you're in the worst place you could possibly be.
As you're batching 150 cocktails per recipe.
Oh, man.
Yeah. No, I've only helped with Arizona Cocktail Week. I've been to Tales a couple times. The Absinthe House is one hell of a drug.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're the spot where everyone ends
the
up.
alibi.
Yes. Oh yeah. Aaron Rose with the frozen Irish coffees. That's classic. But just the scale. Like you can't even imagine it. You throw a party at your house and you make 20 people cocktails. Just like do that 50 times over, just back to back. And you got these giant tubs that you're pouring in gallons of citrus and just bottle after bottle. Like, yeah, I've been hungover, but not that hungover there. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Here's a case of oranges. We need peels. Just like go for it. Do all of them. And then here's another case. Once you're done with that, like, it's just brutal. But it was, I mean, I tell you what, all those guys, every one of them, we should have a reunion sometime soon because we had a ton of fun doing it. As hard as it was and as much as we hated it, we had just so much fun.
Yeah.
And made lifelong friendships for sure.
Well, I mean, that's what this industry is about, you know? And we forget that with all the chaos and all the late nights and all the angry guests and the COVIDs, but it's the people, and that's why we keep showing up, and that's why we'll probably be the last ones replaced by robots. So hopefully,
that's a good thing. Yeah, hopefully. Totally.
Ryan, thank you for coming on today. That was awesome getting to talk to you, getting to meet you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here and chat and reminisce about a lot of old stuff. It's great.
Thank you for listening. That is today's episode. Now, if you have not taken a moment to check out our website, please do. It's servesyouRightPod.com. We have past episodes and all sorts of other things there. If you want to get in touch with me, that's the place to do it. I do appreciate that you've given me your most valuable asset, your time and attention. So thank you for listening, and stay tuned. We have some really cool guests coming up. I would hate it if you missed it. Cheers.